We're rolling into week 6. It's time to look at our lineups for fantasy football, and we're looking at some bye weeks. We're looking at a lot of injuries, and some of you guys are looking at some jabronis that you might have to start. Some guys who are sitting on the waiver wire, some guys who are sitting on the back end of your roster that you really hope that weren't there, but they got to be there because you got to patch some things up. We're going to go game by game, matchup by matchup, and find that outlier player, that guy that could exceed expectations, that could be that home run swing for your lineup. This is good for players who are decimated in their lineups. This is good for players in deeper leagues, deeper dynasty maybe, deeper redraft, 16-teamers plus, because we're going to try and think outside the box, think about how these games could break, and maybe you get a little bit of fantasy points out of this. I'm not looking at these as predictions, more like suggestions if you're really hurting. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're going hot and heavy over the waiver wire every day. Tomorrow's the must-start video to where we cover just about every player in the league. On top of that, I answer your questions in that comment section. On top of that, we're doing deep dives on as many players as possible with the You Need series. Click that button, stop missing out. As always, Rick Flair's watching you. You don't want to disappoint him. But our first player today that we're going to look at, it's Roschon Johnson for the Bears. And we're going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, who gives up fantasy points to running backs. Passing game, run game. They're giving it to the running backs. Swift is the guy there, especially over the last 2 weeks. We're not saying he's going to usurp him. If he was, then everybody would be expecting it. But nobody's expecting Roschon Johnson. He scored 2 touchdowns last week. We're starting to get some touches. We're getting about 8 to 10 touches a game. On top of that, week 3, we were used heavily in the passing game. We can be used heavily in the passing game with this running back. We saw it last year as well. Swift's a lot better at that because he's more explosive. But we're not expecting him to put up large numbers. But there's a chance here, when we look at this matchup with a 44.5 over-under, that they grind it on the ground a little bit. He gets a couple red zone looks. He catches a couple balls. And next thing you know, you got a 10 spot. That's what we're looking at when we're looking at Roschon Johnson in this matchup. We're looking at Swift being a guy. We're looking at this being a crazy game script because it's the Bears and they make things crazy with a rookie quarterback that likes to go YOLO, tossing it downfield. Roschon Johnson, though, good size, just athleticism. Could surprise you. Jalen Polk, because we got Drake May back. Drake May is going to be out there throwing YOLO balls. He's got a good rapport with the rookie wide receiver. This could be a splash performance. Vegas saying, hey, wait a second, 38 over under, lower scoring game, could be a lower volume game. But if the Texans can push the pace, if Nico Collins being out doesn't affect him that much, and next thing you know, the Patriots got to sling the rock, and they let Drake May's nuts hang, we might see some fantasy points from Jaylen Polk. Rashod Bateman, and I know some of you guys are leery on that name, but Rashod Bateman on the season is hitting here and there. 2 games really, against Dallas and against Cincinnati. You could throw in the Commanders. A lot of teams want to push the ball downfield on the Commanders. And Rashod Bateman, there are some games where he's getting 8 out of over 15 yards. He's getting deep shots downfield. We got 51.5 over under. He's a guy where you're tight, you're looking for something. This might be a guy to look at. Jahan Dotson. And it would be quite apropos with the wide receivers coming back, him back to that reserve role in the offense, but him seeing more snaps, running more routes. The fact that he was able to run so many routes quickly in this offense is a testament to what he can do on the field. That may be nothing for fantasy football, which it really is nothing for fantasy football. Usually when a player gets moved to a team that late in training camp and the start of the season, you're seeing nothing out of them. But the fact that you're able to see him run some routes, maybe he surprises you, especially he's getting this much work week in, week out, hasn't scored a touchdown yet. Maybe we get it this week against the Browns. This week, we're looking at Manny Wilson because Manny Wilson's getting touches a little bit here and there, sometimes a little bit more than expected. We're going against the Cardinals. Teams like to run against the Cardinals. They did last year. They're trying it this year at least to start off games. Manny Wilson will get some opportunity. It'll be 6 to 10 opportunities in this matchup. If we can break loose across the goal line, which we are due, then he's going to score you some fantasy points. Spencer Rattler. And I expect some yellow balls downfield. I expect him to push it downfield. I expect him to be poised and confident. I expect a 50% ratio either him being godly awful or him being terrific. Him going to God mode or him being godly awful. That being said, that's what I expect from Spencer. I expect either one of those two scenarios. Because Spencer Rattler can sling it. High-end recruit coming out of high school. Pushes it downfield. Confident. He is a very good rookie quarterback, especially for a late rounder, that you got to keep an eye on going into this matchup. And now we're looking at Colts and Titans, and honestly, with Anthony Richardson back, I don't know who to count on here, especially when we're looking at the targets being funneled in Titans. You know where the ball's concentrated to. So we're going to go to our main squeeze here, A.D. Mitchell. Maybe he'll bring in some deep targets downfield. Can't really say Alec Pierce. He's been hitting too much to be a deep guy for us. Even though in traditional leagues he could be a deep guy for us. So if you want to pull up on him, go ahead. But you can pull up on A.D. Mitchell too. If you're in like a 16-teamer plus or whatever, and you're looking for something that's hurting you, A.D. Mitchell's going to get some deep balls here and there. 7 targets last week. He is creating separation. One of the top wide receivers in the National Football League. When it comes to creating separation, the thing about this, the Colts offense has a lot of good wide receivers. They are built out wide receiver, and Flacco's showing that too. But we need Anthony Richardson to really step things up. Darnell Washington, honestly, if you look at this matchup, it should be nasty and ugly. We know where the ball's concentrated to. So where's the ball not concentrated to that could surprise us, that could be a mismatch? Darnell Washington's a huge mismatch in the end zone with that size and speed. He can break off, create separation with that. And that is a nasty situation to go up against when you're looking at a short space in the end zone. I would not be surprised if he scores a touchdown anywhere down the line. It could be this week against the Raiders because the Raiders do weird things. Now we're looking at Hassan Haskins. Gus Edwards missing practices right now. It could be changing once we get later in Friday's practice report. But Hassan Haskins as the backup might get you some goal line looks and more touches than realized. And the thing about this, played for Michigan, played under Harbaugh. He's a Harbaugh guy. He's getting touches over Vidal. I'm not saying he's better than Vidal. I'm saying he's a Harbaugh guy, and a Harbaugh's going to Harbaugh. And I'm going to say that because I'm still salty over Nico Collins in Michigan, because Nico Collins could have had a grand collegiate career. And Haskins here does have some upside between the tackles. He's very dependable for a running back, especially a lower tier running back. So you might see him get some opportunities. I wouldn't bank on it. But if you're looking for someone to surprise you, this could be a guy. Ray McCloud. So in traditional leagues, he really should be rostered, but a lot of people are like going away from him because you got a lot of options in this offense. He's getting a lot of targets week to week. I mean, his low point's 3, his high point's 9, and he's living around 5 to 7 targets a game. That being said, against the Carolina Panthers, I expect this game script to be fun. I expect there to be some fantasy points scored on both sides of the ball. When I mean that, high-end producers and guys surprising you and the ball just flying in the air, Ray McCloud should at least get you 5 targets in this matchup. Something to look at for your lineups. Ezekiel Elliott. Honestly, you're starting everybody in this matchup, so there's really no one to really pinpoint as a sneaky start because no one's really flying under the radar who's on the field a lot. Zeke, though, with the ball moving, could get that goal line touch, could get that touchdown, and that could put you over the top. Even though it's just 10 fantasy points or 11, 12, it's free off waivers. You pick it up, you pray for the best, you see what happens. You're hurting at running back zapped up. You don't know what to do. Maybe this is your option. Now you're looking at Yoshi here against the New York Giants. This is a game script that could break. This is a game script that could go ugly either way. High scoring, low scoring. Due to these two teams just being weird. Let's just be honest. These two teams are weird. And that being said, an ancillary piece in the passing offense with T. Higgins back could get some extra targets. And they do target him downfield. 3 targets in the last 2 games. That's why he's in the sneaky option category, considering he had 17 targets in the first 3 games. But the volume downfield is what you're looking at here for Yoshi, and he has to just bring in 1 catch or 2, and he's going to hit for your fantasy lineup just enough for you to feel okay in those spots where you're just hurting. Now, these are not recommendations for leagues where you're good at. Like, you're not picking these guys up just to pick up or starting them just to start. These are for when you're hurting in your lineups. Because we're looking at guys like Mack Hollins right here against the Jets on Monday night. And if Khalil Shakir's out, he's been banged up, he's been hurt. We're watching the Friday practice reports and the reports on Saturday. He's going to get targets, he's going to get opportunity, and those opportunities are downfield. So all you have to do is bring in 1 or 2 of those, or one of those targets in the goal line, because more likely if your targets are downfield, you're going to get some goal line looks. And he's 6'4", could get a goal line fade, 1 or 2 here and there. Mack Hollins is a guy that's sneaky on the radar. He made the waiver wire video because the spreadsheets told me to put him in there due to the numbers. 12 targets in the last 2 games, and he's getting deep balls downfield. That screams Gabe Davis upside. Gabe Davis where a lot of games of nothing, and then 1 game here of a whole lot of something, more games of nothing, and then a game a whole lot of something. Some players hate those players. Some fantasy players love those players. But Mack Hollins, these last 2 games, are trending for that, and that's something to pay attention to. And I'm the only person out here bringing out the Mack Hollins signal. Keon Coleman's out there, but there's a lot of times you're not seeing him get targets. You're not even seeing him on the field. Mack Hollins is a veteran, where he's on some random teams out there that's just putting out fantasy points in short spurts. 2 games, 3 games, 5 games, and next thing you know, he's gone, and you're wondering where he's at. That's the type of player he is. We've seen that over the course of his career. That's probably going to happen here with the Bills. I don't know when, I don't know if or how, but Mack Hollins is going to Mack Hollins, and that's all we got to say, and that's the bottom line, because Stone Cold said so. Those are the sneaky starts for Week 6, and these are guys that are jabronis that could hit for your fantasy lineups, that could surprise you. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on the way out. We want to hear about your jabronis. Let us know. But again, I want to thank you, and I'll catch you on the next video.